One of the reasons why comic books are just so endlessly cool to me is that it's a pretty simple medium for pretty much anyone to pick up a piece of paper, pick up a pencil, and make your own comic book. And I love that, and I love to champion that. And recently, I've been honored with the opportunity to read a book called Genecy. I got both issue 1 and 2 digitally from the writer, and he just asked if I would be willing to take a look at it and share my thoughts with you. And holy cow, there is some really cool and really impressive stuff happening in this book. Like, I'm really impressed by it. For as long as anyone can remember, the militarized Grenade people have been pillaging, plundering, and enslaving every planet they can come across. Just completely decimating the landscape, the people, any sense of hope or freedom or peace in the galaxy, all in the name of searching for these ancient artifacts that are older than time itself, that are said to be the keys to unlocking unlimited galactic power, just to help fuel their quest for conquest. And our journey in this oppressed galaxy begins when we meet Kazax from Tanar, and he escapes his enslavers. Kazax has been enslaved for years by the Grenade people, thrown in their gladiator pits, having to fight for his life for the entertainment of anyone who's around him. But his circumstances are not unique, because all around him are people in the same position as he is. His whole planet has been enslaved, and he just cannot take that anymore. As Kazax escapes to the planet below, he's presented with this emerald magic wand, this key that leads him towards a dome. Inside the dome are the skeletal remains of 1,000 different warriors from 100 different planets, all surrounding this altar in the middle. Kazax takes the key and he sets it down on the altar, but as he does, all of the warriors rise up again. They're ready for battle. It's 1,000v1, but thankfully Kazax has somehow gained this mysterious power from this altar. With just a few hits with this newfound galactic power, Kazax was able to take down the entirety of this army, which encourages the general of this army, a fiery demon named Rathgar, to rise up and challenge him to solo combat. They fight, blows are exchanged, it's bombastic, it's powerful, it's incredible. And then suddenly it all stops. It all stops when the ruler of this temple shows up. A god older than recorded time itself, a god named Ragnarod. For eons, Ragnarod has been looking for a chosen one who can have the power and handle the power to act in his name and bring freedom and peace to the galaxy yet again, and lead his armies toward that victory. And he thinks he's found it in Kazax. Though Rathgar and the rest of the army, they do have their doubts, and there are questions of, can this guy handle it? And that's really the question that carries us through the series too. What happens when you take someone who has been oppressed their entire life, they're angry, they're ready for vengeance, you give them the power to do that, and what happens next? Let's talk about the writing first, because that was the first thing I noticed when I was reading this book. The writing is spectacular, right? Like, it's just really good. You know, in issue 2, they have a backup story that's just talking about Kazax and like what his life was like being enslaved by the Grenade. And it's like, you know what? You don't do backup stories like that unless you really care about the world you're building and the characters you're building. And it was really great. And because of that passion, you can also tell that each character is so well specifically motivated and specifically written, they feel like real people. I was really impressed by it. Though this book's most impressive element are actually two elements that I don't see a lot of people talk about on a fairly regular basis, and it's the coloring and the lettering behind the book. I used to tell my students when I was running my comic book workshop to try and think of a page of a comic book as kind of like a sentence, right? Like, the pacing and the timing of the sentence is determined by the panel layout. The context of it is determined by the action and the written story. But a lot of the identity comes from the coloring. If done well, coloring can completely change the emotional tone of what's going on in the page and completely change the way that you perceive it. If lighting is to filmmaking and instrumentation is to music, so is coloring to a comic book if you choose to use it. I mean, look at this scene here where the hero Kazax is encountering the Dome of Ragnarok for the first time. We start in a cool-toned desert, almost leaning purple but refusing to fully commit to it. And as we delve deeper into the environment, we get these ghastly green hues transitioning to a purple, then red when the undead army of warriors rises, and then we enter the climax of the fight with our hero in blue and our villain in red. Some would say that the indicator of a good comic, or that you're doing your specific job right in a comic, is that if you were to take all of the other elements of the book away, you would still be able to tell that there was a really strong narrative and a really strong story happening just by itself. So I've gone ahead and I've taken the liberty of taking this scene here and I've blurred it out so that all you can really see are just the colors. And it's there, you can see it. You can see this conflict and this struggle and this changing environment just by looking at the colors. It's really, really well done. This is top-notch coloring. The other secret element that this book completely changes and recontextualizes is the lettering. Hold on, let me show you something. This here is my autographed copy of Ultimate Spider-Man. It's my childhood copy. I was able to meet Mark Bagley, who drew it, and he went ahead and signed the cover for me, and I have it like displayed down there on the shelf, and it's really nice. I appreciate it. But let me point out something here. Look at this. Can you hear that? No, of course you can't, because comics don't make noise. That is one of the big challenges and big hurdles that comes to making a comic book, is that you don't have the dimension of sound. You have to simulate the sound via, all kinds of different methods have been discovered over the years. One of the most effective that I've found is the lettering. Lettering is the art of taking what you're supposed to be able to hear in the real world and turning it into something that you can see in a comic book world. It's the onomatopoeia, it's the dialogue, and there's so much you can do to play with that. In this book, in Genecy, almost every significant character has two very, really, really cool things to do with the lettering. They speak in a different font. They have a color associated with it, and I guess I should really say three things, because they usually have a different shaped word balloon as well. This idea has been explored before and is usually subconscious, but this forces you to have to read and hear these characters in a completely different way from each other. The god Ragnarok speaks in like this script, this glowing blue script. It sounds like the voice of God. Or you have Hrothgar, who he's fiery, he's impulsive, he's angry, and his speech bubbles look like that. He speaks in an angry font, he speaks in an angry speech bubble. His speech bubbles are red, he sounds angry, yet he doesn't make a single noise. I'm not gonna lie to you, when I pick up a mainstream comic book, this is the kind of lettering I'm hoping that I end up seeing, and I never do. But here it exists, it's real, and it's so good. I don't know who did the lettering specifically. I don't know if that was specifically on the part of the writer or specifically on the part of the art team. Whoever did the lettering in this book, they really should be scouted by mainstream comics, because this is just phenomenal stuff. These are huge pluses when it comes to the book. The writing is really, really cool. The characters feel real and individual, in large part because the lettering makes them feel real and individual. The art is really cool, it's engaging, it sucks you in, it carries you through the story, and a large part of that is because the coloring is just top-notch stuff. There was one thing that kind of got to me a little bit when I started reading the book, and that was just how compressed everything was. You know, this is a really, really big, really, really cosmic story. And in the first 2 issues, it feels like it just never has a second to breathe. You know, first off, we're escaping jail, and then we're captured into a spaceship, then we escape the spaceship, and then we end up on a planet, and then we find a dome, and then we fight bad guys, and then we fight bad guys again, all with new superpowers that we had, and then the god shows up and starts lore dumping on everything, and it's like you're off to the races and you're just going. However, I know that issue 3 is about to release, and with that, you know, the lore has already been established in issues 1 and 2. So I expect the pacing to really equal out, though I would suggest, you know, take a look at that as we're going further into these issues. It's fun to go a million miles a minute, just full throttle, go, 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 but the speed feels faster with the acceleration, right? Like, if you're in an airplane, and you're traveling 1,000 miles an hour, 700 more like, you're traveling 700 miles an hour for 4 hours, it stops feeling fast pretty quickly. However, when you're taking off on the airplane, it feels like you're getting up a lot of speed. Acceleration is what makes speed feel fast. So, you know, take a second, breathe. Pull back on the gas a little bit, and that way you can ramp it back up, and then your climax feels a lot more climactic because we haven't had like a 20-page climax already, you know? This is a book that's easy to recommend because it's just so well made, right? And, you know, we have 2 issues out already. The 3rd issue is coming. I've been told that we have up to issue 40 written, so, you know, there's plenty of story to come still. If you're looking for something new, something that you don't normally see in a comic book lineup, this is an easy one to go to. Also, I would specifically recommend this if you are really into any kind of mythology, because this book is very mythic. If you love Greek mythology, Roman, Aztec, you know, this book fits right in there. And if you love Cosmic Odyssey stuff like Silver Surfer or Planet Hulk, this book fits right in with that. It fits really well there. At the end of the 1st issue, there's a little excerpt from the author. He says this: "There are certain Yisco moments in life that you'll remember because those were the moments that blew your mind. Whenever I open a book, look at artwork, or watch a movie, I do it in hopes of finding another one of those moments. As a science fiction fan, so much has been poured into me, and as a writer, so much comes out. With Genecy, I want to make you say, wow." Well, Gerald Cooper, you ready for this? Wow.